Whoa, 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 whoa. Talk about a reset. All right, so everyone noticing these things of the political spectrum. Um, there are several key things you have to notice, all right, if you haven't already, especially those who have been studying um, areas of law, finance. Okay, what most people need to realize is that systems that, for example, the NASDAQ, we have learned, you have already learned for many of you, that the banks exchange or are in charge of collecting securities. They don't lend money because that's not their banking powers and duties per US code, okay? And per Bills of Exchange Act 1882, which was used to create Article 3, which heavily influenced Article 3. All bills are to be treated as negotiable instruments, and all interest is owed to the bearer, aka the person who's holding the instrument at the moment. Okay. So everyone, when we talk about equity, everyone is supposed to be receiving equitable checks, and these equitable checks were supposed to help balance the national debt of the book, but it doesn't happen. Why hasn't it happened? Not yet. It's happening. It's gonna happen, but like, and as it's gonna happen, things keep evolving and will be a lot more simpler. But why it hasn't happened is because we have to recognize several key things. Well, there's a lot of things actually, but we have to recognize that some of the things that have we have to recognize some of these things that have added to the detriment of our infinite open-ended credit system. Okay, so what we need to realize, for example, is that companies like, for example, if you go read um, the Nasdaq, okay, how it started, all right, what they did and how they tried to automate certain things. Well, because they try to automate certain things, that takes time, okay, that takes energy, that takes effort, but things happen, right? And things change, people agree, disagree. There's affairs here and there that need to be solved, equitable remedies for everybody. There has to be a balance. So, because of these things that are constantly revolving and evolving and changing, all right, these people or anybody and these systems or these organizations, okay, not limited to the NASDAQ, but these organizations essentially could not keep up. Let's just put it that way. They could not keep up because they tried to automate everything. All right. So as if they put themselves into a major deal. All right. And almost as if they missed the ball, actually, almost as if they missed what America actually is. Almost as if they were like, "Hey, America, if I'm going to put it in a scenario, it's like they said, "Hey, America, we're going to help, stimulate your economy, and this is how we're going to do it." Not realizing that America was already built with infinite credit, and they're like, "Well, we could definitely do that. We can definitely implement that into our automation with stocks and all this other stuff, with securities, with shares, etc." And so they have all these complex processes going on, and all these different lenders and bankers and business partners partnering up with these different companies. And they have all these overly complex processes because they have to make sure that what they built is still functioning and delivering on the promissory note. All right? Not just the paper dollar, the promissory note, which could be the bond that they gave to the American, or that they created with our government, the American people. So now the American people, what this reminds me is that time truly is timeless. Okay, there really is no time. Things have been tried and tested. Okay, freedom has always reigned supreme. Abundance has always reigned, even in the financial aspect. But we have these different businessmen and women who come in here, and I don't know where their mind went. Okay, that they thought they can just, handle a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of people. They thought they can handle a whole bunch of people and everything that comes with it. It's like, no, you don't do that. That's not effective. There's bound to be flaw. What you have to do is provide guidance to people. Hence why certain laws are readed. I mean, are are written, and you can go and read it. All right, and then at the same time, you have to guide people spiritually, intellectually, and physically. So, in the hustle and bustle of trying to deliver on a promise that was made eons, you could say, or years ago, all right, to stimulate the American economy, we got lost, or they got lost. These businesses got lost in their automation. they got lost in their process, and through the usage of their automation and algorithms, they allowed that to essentially trickle down into everyday people's lives, operations, lifestyles, things to do, tasks. And with those automated systems, it became messy. They couldn't control it. And because they couldn't control it, shit went all over the wall like it's going right now. But on the bright side, it's actually good that it's happening because people are recognizing once again, first, the power is us. Second, life has always been abundant and so have our finances. Okay. Three, there is no debt. Okay. People create debt because, hey, I promised to give you this in exchange for this and I owe you later. How about instead of I owe you later, we shift into, hey, let's work together. All right. Not let's work together and, oh, I gotcha. Okay. See, globally, collectively, individually, we all have to have this sense of responsibility, especially if we want to live our best optimum life and keep creating and evolving and having fun. We came to this life to have fun, not to get lost in overcomplicated processes, just so that you can have what was already established by divine law and backed up by the Constitution. I'm going to say that again. By divine law, established by divine law, and backed up by the Constitution, along with the rules of engagement in commerce, trade, and trust. Incredible, man. And what is part of that responsibility? See, we many financial experts and gurus, we look at all the moving parts, external moving parts of the financial system, but we don't, not we, some people, okay, look at all the external moving parts, but don't focus on the internal aspects that affect the external moving parts. Easy. I swear to God, some people really need to see a shaman. They really need to drink some ganja tea. They really need to drink some tea in general. Okay, they need to fast, watch the sun, spend time in nature, connect with the animals who are our friends, not food, so their life could be more whole and fulfilled, and not get lost in trying to grasp for control. Would you? This is the world is full of nations among nations and nations within nations and tribes within nations. And essentially everyone is their own tribesman or woman within the nations of nations. That's what America is. Una, United Nations of America. Or UNOA. However you want to call it. I don't care. I'm not trying to trademark this. This is not about trademarking anything. This is about understanding a global truth that permeates all of these artificial external financial systems and processes. Just like with my video about the houseless nonprofits. These houseless nonprofits, I went to go speak to one, and I say houseless because Earth is home. All right, so it's hard for me to say homeless because there is no such thing as homeless. Earth is home. Okay, house refers to a structure, however, so that's different. So these houseless, I'm gonna call these homeless organizations. I'm gonna call them houseless. Okay, here on out. These houseless organizations, some of them are nonprofits. All right. Some of them do really good, but there are others that are essentially supposedly, especially I see it in Florida, trying to help people get their locations or get their houses and get their housing, but they ask for information so that they can submit you into a trust. And my question is, if you're submitting someone into a trust, what are you doing with their information? Are you turning them into a trustee when they're already the beneficiary and the assigned agents to that trust, that business card, or that credit card, we can say? It's a business and a credit card, not in the traditional swipe sense, but what it stands for is business and open-ended credit. Okay, so are they taking that information and then collecting the interest that is owed to the bearers and making themselves bearers? No wonder so many of these organizations are under scrutiny. Yes, We need to make them under scrutiny. All organizations need to be under scrutiny and need to be observed and studied and analyzed. Like, where are you fucking up? Let's ask the very simple question: where the hell are you guys fucking up? Where the hell is your system fucking up? Because we should not have so many people who are struggling because they don't understand what is already available to them. We should not be behind or competing in business or even trying to worry about, as I mentioned in my videos, defense or national security when we have more than enough creativity and intelligence to create a sustaining and implement and sustain a self-sustaining system of finance alongside with the simplicity of living in harmony with nature, planting gardens of food forests. Ladies and gentlemen, this is so fucking simple that it is baffling and mind-boggling how many people, organizations, businesses fail to see the flaws within their own systems and cling on to their illusions. This is why the mega project is so important, because the mega project has to deal with efficiency. The mega project has to deal with keeping things simple. The mega project has to deal with infinite creativity, which is never going to run out. The mega project has to deal with physicality, athleticism, and your athleticism. Thank goodness there's a time gap to get better and better, but these time gaps created by these financial systems to accomplish certain things such as building structures or building transportation for individual, instead of these high demands that are working on these areas, there shouldn't be high demands in the sense of one company trying to run everything on a system that's already flawed. Instead, it should be, hey, how can we teach everyone? Hey, look, thank God that's already happening. How can we teach? The question is, how can we teach and show everyone that they can do these things for themselves? And people are learning that they can do these things for themselves, especially with 3D printing. Oh my God. Definitely got to highlight 3D printing. Okay. And especially with, I saw this thing. What is this? This company is called Machina Labs. And Machina Labs, you can order these big robotic arms so that you can start molding thick pizza, thick pieces of metal into whatever shape, so people can customize their own designs. Their warehouse don't have to be so big now. It could be as simple as a nice big, about the size of maybe a hangar, maybe half the size of an airplane hangar or a jet fighter hangar, and they can just put the pieces together, design their designs, go enjoy their design, customize it, design it, the colors in many ways, whatever they're feeling. And then when they're done, take the same material, recycle it, refurbish it, start it all over from its dust and bring it back up. Or start it all over, just like, for example, take a titanium piece of steel. And if it's been customized in designs, you can then now, start it all over, wash off the paint, okay, and use the same piece of metal to now, let's say, for example, forge it, melt it, and renew that same piece of titanium. So simple. So simple. So what would essentially people need? A personal forge, okay? Or a forge or several forge locations where they can just go in. All right. Some people do this online. They order things online. Okay, that's a good way. We can use the ATS ships that I coined so that we can enhance delivery. Okay, instead of having to be automated, no, let's let it be a little more fun. Let's let people go ahead and drive it. You know, like there are so many ways to create efficiency out of the systems that are already have been in place and out of the laws and rules that have, and the the abundant truths that already exist, that all these over complexities and waste of human intellect and intelligence and cosmic intelligence does not need to be, what's that word I'm looking for, propagated or yeah, does not need to be, does not need to keep rolling on, does not need to be whatever the word is. Let me see what the word is. prolonged. That's the word I'm looking for. It does not need to be prolonged. Okay? There is so much potential for humanity in their evolution and in their infinite joy that, damn it, if we got to be the ones to stand up to the plate, then let's do it. Because what I'm seeing is a lot of people are stepping up, and that's good. Namaste, y'all. Peace.